Welcome back to the Criminal Motives Podcast. My name is Matthew Pfeiffer. I am your host. Today we have an update on the David Anthony Burke and Celeste Rivas Hernandez case. So I've been talking about this. I posted my first video about this a couple of weeks ago, so we have an update since then. So let's check out this next video together, and then I will be back to give you my thoughts and my reaction. But before we do that, be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you are into true crime. If you're into talking about current events that are happening in the news, then this is the channel and the podcast for you. So with that being said, check out this next video and I will be back.
We have been carefully following the Celeste Rivas Hernandez death, and we want to track what we seem to know about her and her movements, because that is key here. That is key. And this comes as TMZ has just released new surveillance footage, apparently showing her right before she disappeared last year. And let me put it into context about why this is so significant. So her decomposed remains, the decomposed remains of this teenage girl, were found in the trunk of a 2023 Tesla at a spot called Hollywood Tow Yard, and this car was registered to singer David, D4vd, David Anthony Burke. In fact, she was found a day after she would have turned 15 years old. But the question is, and the mystery here, is what was going on before she ended up in that car, right? Her whereabouts before her remains were discovered in that car. That's the mystery. Well, it's at least a mystery to us. We're not sure what investigators really have at this point, what's happening behind the scenes. I will provide you a recent update from the LAPD captain, which is interesting. We'll talk about it. But they have been relatively tight-lipped. Not uncommon in an investigation like this. I mean, we don't even have an official cause of death. Authorities have not identified a suspect or person of interest. That includes David, too. He has not officially been implicated in any crime or any wrongdoing. I want to be clear about that. But when it comes to Celeste, the victim in this case, where was she? What was she doing? Well, it has been reported that Celeste had run away from home on prior occasions. Law enforcement sources reportedly told TMZ that it was due to a, quote, troubled home. Like there had been this reporting that she ran away in January of 2024, was taken back home after being found or located in Hollywood. However, speaking of TMZ, we got to talk about what they reported. So they got their hands on surveillance footage. It's video from a liquor store in Lake Elsinore, California. That's about 76 miles away from Hollywood, where Celeste's body was found. Now, this is footage reportedly from March 19th, 2024. So possibly the second time that she allegedly ran away. And her sister apparently went to this liquor store. It's called the Lago Spirits, which was reportedly near the family home, to try to see if they have surveillance tape capturing Celeste's movement, see where she went. In this video from TMZ, it appears to show a person wearing a black hoodie and white or light colored pants, a person believed to have been identified by the family as Celeste. And in the video, assuming it is her, you can see Celeste walking quite quickly down the street, then appear to jog or sprint a bit as she rounds the corner, and she eventually disappears from view. Now, we don't know exactly where she came from, or maybe more importantly, where she went. On TMZ Live, Harvey Levin and staff, they discussed whether it was possible she had gotten into a car that had seemingly stopped on the street. TMZ also apparently interviewed the liquor store owner, Ellie Nadeff, who described Celeste as a, quote, beautiful, quiet, shy girl, someone who would simply come into the store to buy ordinary items like chips and soda. And of course, the question was, how did she go from potentially being on that tape to ending up in the trunk of a car? Well, what I'm about to tell you is going to further this mystery. So previous reporting indicated that the Tesla that was apparently abandoned in the Hollywood Hills, it was there maybe just for a few days before it was towed, impounded, and sent to the tow yard, where, by the way, a worker smelled a foul odor coming from the car and called police, and then the body was discovered. Well, now we have more details. Neighbors reportedly told NBC Los Angeles that that car had been there for about a month. And as per reporting from LA Times, that Tesla, again registered to David, was ticketed 11 days before Celeste was found inside. So it was parked on Bluebird Avenue. A resident apparently complained that it was parked there for so long. On August 27th, a parking enforcement officer marked the car. Then on September 3rd, the officer issued a citation for violating a 72-hour parking ordinance. August 5th, it was towed. September 8th is when the body is found. This is again reporting by the Los Angeles Times. So if we're thinking of Celeste's time of death, her cause of death, how long she may have been in that car for, particularly if we discuss decomposition, the timeline has now shifted. By the way, according to News Nation, private investigator Steve Fisher explained that the initial complaint report, which he apparently reviewed, details how the Tesla had a dent, but there was no mention of a smell, and how it was essentially abandoned only 150 feet from a Hollywood Hills property that David had been renting. And we reported on a previous episode of Sidebar how David apparently broke the lease recently, moved his stuff out. And this came after police had searched the property, apparently confiscated electronics and computers. This was per a search warrant. But we are trying to track the movements of this victim, of this teenage girl, who when found reportedly weighed 71 pounds, had a tattoo on her finger that read, "Shh." This is according to the LA medical examiner. That was a distinguishing feature, by the way, that apparently helped to identify her. And TMZ reported that David has the same tattoo. As we mentioned in our previous episode of Sidebar, TMZ reported that people in the industry believed that 20-year-old David and Celeste were dating. Many believe she was actually 19 years old. She was in the 7th grade, by the way. And there have been questions more about this connection, right? There's questions about whether he mentioned this Celeste in a song. News Nation reports that there was a live stream of apparently both of them talking to David's fans that has recently circulated online. That there is a photo of seemingly the both of them, with those wondering if it was the same shirt he wore in that photo that he wore with Billie Eilish in October of 2023. This is from reporting by Complex. And speaking photos, by the way, TMZ also got a hold of a photo of seemingly David out in Lake Elsinore, so less than a mile from Celeste's home. And by the way, authorities haven't officially identified a connection between David and Celeste. As I said, they've been very tight-lipped. All we know is that they're continuing to investigate. It was reported earlier on that David had been cooperative with authorities. He has since canceled his Withered tour. He's delayed release of his album. But in an exclusive interview with People magazine, an LAPD commanding officer would not confirm whether David was cooperating with the investigation or not. Here's what he would say. So LAPD Captain Scott M. Williams told People, "We know for sure that Celeste Rivas Hernandez died and someone placed her body in the front trunk area of David Burke's Tesla. We know that the Tesla had been parked at the location from which it was towed for several weeks. So it is very likely Celeste Rivas Hernandez had been dead for several weeks prior to her body being discovered." The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner has not determined a cause or manner of death, so we don't know for sure if anyone has any criminal culpability for her death beyond the concealment of her dead body. LAPD's robbery homicide unit is apparently still on the case. So the question is, with this video, these new details, this comment, what do they tell us about Celeste's movements leading up to her death?
So there's a lot about this case that, in my opinion, just aren't adding up. So we have Celeste, who's a known runaway, who was reported missing, but the timelines between her being reported missing and the video footage that people have of her just don't add up. Now, I know and I understand the nature of runaways, that they can come back and disappear again and, kind of come and go. And from what I understand in this case, she does come from a very chaotic home. But what's troubling to me is that the fact that because they can't put together a timeline on Celeste, they can't put a timeline on her and David being together, when they were together. Is very clear and it's very obvious to me, and probably you and everyone else that is watching and keeping updated on this case, that there was a romantic connection between the two of them. It was very obvious in his music. It was very obvious in his social media posts. It's very obvious in the streams. And keep in mind that in and of itself is a crime that he should be arrested for. And now we're getting conflicted reports on whether or not he is cooperating or whether he's not cooperating. Now hold that thought. Watch this next short video and I'll be back and I'll give you my final thoughts on this.
Right there. I'll tell you where that. See that door right there? Number 2, not down there. Number 2 right there.
Let me talk real quick, okay? You gonna let me talk?
I ain't gonna let you talk.
No, you ain't gonna let me talk. Why you not gonna let me talk? You tripping. Nah, you tripping. How about you ain't tripping? You gonna let a woman talk? Alright, I'm not gonna let your woman talk.
I see nobody black right here, homie. We're Southsiders right here, homie. We're Southsiders here. Get it right, homegirl. Shut up with your black talking. Shut up. You talking like you black, girl, with your black talking. Yeah. Yeah. Ain't nobody black right here. What are you talking about? I said we're not black over here. Why you keep calling us? You keep saying this. We're not black. Hey, let it go. Go back to your house. Go back to your house. You ain't gonna do nothing, bro. What you gonna do? You ain't no gangster. You ain't nothing, homie. What you are? What you are but a little girl? What you but a little girl? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
You need to go home. Seriously.
I'm not Mexican, Salvador, you tripping.
Oh my God.
Not because you tripping. Move the out of here.
You ain't gonna do shit. You ain't gonna do shit. You better get over there. Get your ass over there, little girl. Go over there, little girl. You ain't gonna do shit. Go. Go. What are you gonna do, bro?
Go call her dad, babe.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, little girl?
Now the video that you just saw was captured from Celeste's neighbors. Apparently there was some sort of prank that happened between the neighbors and Celeste's parents, and Celeste and her parents weren't too happy about it. So obviously Celeste goes off on her neighbors. But what's interesting about this video recording was taken after Celeste was reported missing. In an earlier video a couple of weeks ago, when I first started talking about this case, I was questioning and I was wondering why David hadn't been arrested, why he wasn't considered a suspect. And now I understand why. Because no one can put together a timeline. No one knows when Celeste was home. No one knows when she was away. No one knows when she was a runaway. No one knows when she was just out hanging out with David. Her parents knew she had a boyfriend. They didn't know that he was 20. Essentially, Celeste was raising herself. And not only that, but when you try to piece that together with the timeline of David, David was out on tour. Sometimes he was in town. Sometimes he wasn't. Sometimes he was at a concert. Sometimes he was performing. And also with the home, there was a point in time where the home was in his name, and then he broke the lease. So when you try to put together the timelines, even if you do want to consider him a suspect, the evidence is circumstantial at best. And then you have the timeline of her actual death. No one knows when she died. They did an autopsy and the report came back inconclusive. One of the things that bothers me about this case is that it's really difficult to tell if this is just really bad investigating or if this was really actually just the perfect murder. And also, one of the things that is just mind-boggling to me is the fact that no one knew or understood that this car had been parked out in this neighborhood for several weeks. It's like this information is just coming out and it seems like they're surprised about it, but it's like obvious because the body was decaying. So you discover a decomposing body in the front trunk of a car, and then you're surprised that this car had been sitting there for weeks? I said in a video that I did on this case a few weeks ago when the information was first coming out that it was very clearly, obviously, David that had done this. I'm actually kind of retracting that. Now, do I think that he had something to do with that, to do with this death? Probably, highly probably, right? But one of the things that I think is throwing them off is that I don't think that he was the only one involved. I wouldn't be surprised if they find out that I'm gonna throw something, something in the wind. If third party that was like extremely jealous. You hear cases like this before, right? Where there's a third party, like another girl or someone else that gets involved and kills them, and then the two, like let's say David and this other partner, cover for each other. I wouldn't be surprised if the cartel is involved in this situation. If David had some sort of gambling debt, or because, and the reason why I say and I throw out like these wild conspiracy theories in this situation is because it's a wild case, and the fact that no one can put an identity to this case, right? No one can seem to figure out, like they can't figure out a suspect, but they also can't weed out David out of this situation either. it's almost like someone did this like to send him a message, right? The same way, and I know this is going to sound conspiracy theory-ish, but like what you would see like in the movies, like in the Godfather movies, like where, you know, you would find, where they found the horse head in someone's bed and things like that, where someone's trying to send a message to David, right? So I don't know if he's, and again, I don't know if he's a gambler. I don't know if he owes someone money. I don't know any of those type of things, but we're kind of getting into those type of dynamics where we have to kind of question if these are the type of motivations and if these are the type of things that may have happened, not only to Celeste, but also is David a possible victim where someone was trying to not only set him up, or were they literally just trying to send him a message? And given the circumstances of this case, and given the fact that no one has any answers to this case and no one can seem to find any fingerprints, they did a search on his house. They came out with 12 pieces of evidence, but they still can't seem to put it on David. I don't think it is. I don't think it's a wild idea that something like this possibly could have happened, where this was some sort of hit. This was some sort of message that was sent to him, or maybe not to David, but maybe to the family. We also, one of the things we know about the family as well, it sounds like they're all, between David, the family, Celeste, like everyone involved is has like a kind of a iffy, suspicious type of background. But those are my thoughts. As wild as they might seem, I don't think that they are completely outlandish given the circumstances of the case, and given the fact that it seems like the more digging that they do, the more questions, it seems like they find more questions than they do answers. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But be sure to like, share, subscribe. Be sure to hit the bell notification so you're notified each and every time I upload a new video. Also, be sure to subscribe to my Substack. I will keep you updated not only on this case, but also on other cases if you are into not only true crime, but in current events as well. With all that being said, thank you very much, and I will see you in the next video. You guys have a good one.